Welcome to Franco, Spain. In this video, we're going inside Europe's forgotten dictatorship to see how the fascist rule of Franco for over 3 decades controlled and shaped the television airwaves in Spain. Together, we'll watch the biggest and most iconic TV shows in Spain during Franco's rule, and watch how the TV shows evolved after his death. This is a story of fascism, of control, and of ideological manipulation. But, above all, it's a celebration of some truly remarkable and iconic TV programs that shaped generations. Trust me, I cannot wait to share these shows with you. This is a story that's never been told before, so let's tell it now. Because this is television in Franco's Spain. So, TV arrived in Spain during the dictatorship of Francisco Franco, who had ruled since the end of the Spanish Civil War in 1939. Regular broadcasts began in 1956 when the state-owned broadcaster TVE, Televisión Español, launched its first channel from studios in Madrid. This marked the introduction of free-to-air black and white TV as a monopoly under direct government control, all overseen by the Ministry of Information and Tourism. In its early years, TV was a luxury item with limited reach, initially airing only for a few hours per day in the evenings. But by the 1960s and into the 1970s, coverage had expanded across the country. All programming was heavily censored and centralised, serving to promote Franco's ideology, national unity and Catholic values. So, get comfortable and let's tune in.
Buenas noches.
So this was one of the very first programs broadcast on Television Español. This is Telediario, translated as newscast, and it began in 1957.
Desde el cierre de la última edición de Telediario de ayer han llegado a nuestra redacción muchas noticias, de entre las cuales nosotros hemos seleccionado para ustedes las que hemos considerado de mayor interés. Iniciaremos este noticiario diciéndoles...
This program was Spain's very first news bulletin, and is the longest running TV program in the country, having now aired continually without a break for 69 years.
Los debates realmente trascendentes tendrán lugar hoy. Con respecto a la salud del expresidente...
I absolutely love all of these old news intros. Now, Telediario reflected the political landscape of the country. These early broadcasts you're watching now were heavily censored by the regime's propaganda apparatus. The Ministry of Information and Tourism supervised all content broadcast on Telediario, ensuring that it emphasised the government's achievements such as infrastructure projects and economic progress, while excluding any criticism, opposition views, political dissent, or any negative portrayal of Franco. All new scripts were vetted and approved in advance.
Y con estas imágenes de pueblos y de premios cerramos por hoy nuestra edición de Telediario. Buenas noches.
One of the things that struck me about Telediario is, unlike a lot of the other countries we've been to, it feels all very informal and warm. I much prefer this style of news. The newscasters aren't shouting at you or being dramatic, they're just calmly telling you what's going on. Well, to a certain extent.
Sus Majestades los Reyes han llegado sobre las 11 de esta mañana al aeropuerto de Barajas procedentes de Nueva York después de su visita oficial a la República Dominicana y a Estados Unidos. Minutos después de que el avión Super DC-8-63 El Españoleto, en que realizaron el vuelo, se posara en el aeropuerto madrileño, hicieron su aparición los reyes en la portezuela de la aeronave, momento en que el numeroso público...
Now, while the propaganda in Teleyario is much more subtle compared to when we travelled to North Korea or the Soviet Union, be under no doubt that the same mechanisms are at work. In fact, in 1974, TVE journalists prepared a 2-hour news report on the unrest and revolutions taking place in Portugal, only to have Franco's regime destroy the tapes on their arrival back in the country, for fear that it could stoke revolution at home. Okay, one final clip from Telediario now, this one from the 1980s, because, well, I love the 80s graphics.
El ministro Serra ha defendido esta tarde la vinculación política y no...
In the 1950s and early 1960s in Spain, there was, of course, only one channel, and it only broadcast for a few hours every evening, so content was limited. But there was time for plenty of propaganda.
Su Excelencia el Jefe del Estado llega a Barcelona a bordo del crucero Galicia y en una motora se traslada al embarcadero de la Puerta de la Paz, acompañado por el Ministro de Marina y el Jefe del Sector Naval de Cataluña. Entre los honores de ordenanza desembarca el Generalísimo.
Early newsreels such as this one were broadcast in cinemas and on TV, and they all had one purpose: to promote Franco and his regime. They often cover things like Franco, or the Generalissimo, which I love saying, as he was referred to here, travelling to different parts of the country, where, of course, everyone welcomed and loved him, obviously.
Una inmensa muchedumbre tributa al Generalísimo su cariñosa bienvenida. Barcelona vive así una fecha histórica rubricada con la emoción de un pueblo laborioso que sabe que el orden y la paz, bajo los que su trabajo se desarrolla, se deben al artífice de la victoria nacional. En la Gran Vía Layetana, como en todos los...
Now, in addition to the newsreels and positive news reports, Franco would also appear on TV throughout the year to directly address his people. One such programme was this one. This is Mensajes de Fin de Año, the annual New Year's message.
Españoles, habéis de perdonarme si irrumpo en la paz de vuestros hogares para haceros partícipes de las inquietudes del mundo en que vivimos. Pero sin ello no cabría la compenetración y la solidaridad de los que navegamos en la misma nave. ¿Qué importa que ésta sea resistente si el temporal aumenta? Toda navegación requiere la unidad, la solidaridad...
During these mammoth hour-long speeches, Franco would look his public directly in the eye, beamed into their living room, and recite his achievements from the past year.
El mundo es así y a él hemos de sujetarnos. En el año 1961 que vamos a iniciar,
these broadcasts are quite incredible to watch back, and to a large extent have been lost to history. They've just been completely forgotten about. In each one, Franco would go on and on and on, using poetic language and superfluous metaphors throughout. Here the whole of Spain is one ship, weathering the storms, and he is the noble captain.
En las que se han derrumbado tantas superestructuras de todo orden que parecían inconmovibles. Un cuarto de siglo...
Okay lads, I think we've had quite enough of this, and thankfully as we move into the 1960s, TV in Spain radically changes, and we get, at last, a bit of entertainment. Something wicked this way comes. This is Studio 1, and this was a landmark dramatic TV programme produced by TVE. It first broadcast in 1965 and ran continuously until 1984. The show consisted of televised adaptations of theatrical plays, full-length stage works performed live or recorded in a studio setting and broadcast uninterrupted as complete productions. This particular episode was broadcast in 1966, and it's the Spanish interpretation of Shakespeare's Macbeth, and this is actually really well executed.
Sé sanguinario, valiente y atrevido. Búrlate del poder de los hombres, pues...
Anyone up for a sword fight? So this TV show was hugely popular. Hundreds, thousands of full-length plays were adapted, rehearsed and played out live for Spaniards to enjoy. This was high-class TV, bringing high culture to a mass audience.
Macbeth no dormirá más.
¡Calla! ¡Vuelve en ti! Nadie gritaba sino tu pensamiento. No dejas que el miedo ofusque el brillo de tu razón. ¿Por qué has traído esos puñales?
The star of this episode is without doubt the actress on screen at the moment. She's Irene Cabba and she is doing a brilliant interpretation of Lady Macbeth.
No me atrevo a contemplar lo que hice.
Dame esos puñales. No tiembles. Yo iré. Y si sangra aún, mancharé las manos de esos hombres. Y tú ve a lavar con agua ese sucio testimonio de las tuyas.
So as Lady Macbeth schemes and connives, let's now switch to something lighter. This is Galas de Sábado, Spain's very first variety show. It broadcast on Saturday evenings from 1968, and I love this show. Look how classy and impressive everything looks. I think of all of the countries we've travelled to in this season, Spain so far takes the award for the classiest, most impressive and most visually appealing television. Look, even her dress goes into the sky. So, Galas de Sábado, translated as the Saturday Gala, is your typical variety show. It was presented by these two legends, Laura and Joaquin, and it focused on entertainment with a mix of musical performance, humorous sketches, magicians and dance routines. Let's take a quick look at some of tonight's acts.
Son los cerezos sin hacer. Me has engañado, no me ilusionaré nunca más amaré, nunca más, no me ilusionaré nunca más
She's great, isn't she? If you know who she is, let me know in the comments. So this show was massively popular. Firstly, because as you saw, a lot of TV up to now was very rigid and very formal. And this was pretty much Spain's first real entertainment show, where people could actually have fun. Okay, so I could watch this show for hours and hours. It is so good, and it is such a fantastic glimpse into Spain's cultural history. The two hosts are just fantastic together, and the whole show is just so much fun.
Tápame con tus rebotos.
Okay, so while these two ham it up on stage, it's time to take a look at kids' TV. TVE was actually a bit of a pioneer for children's entertainment, and they produced loads of fantastic TV shows for kids. Many of them are legendary and fondly remembered across Spain today. Let's take a look at them. This show was one of the earliest and one of the most famous of them all. This is Las Marionetas de Curro Franco, translated as Curro Franco's Puppets. It's a beloved and pioneering part of Spanish children's TV.
Viviendo en mi casita de papel. Viviendo en mi casita de papel.
Hola, amiguitos.
Un abrazo muy fuerte.
Hoy empezamos con un nuevo programa.
Y este programa lo presento yo.
Un momento, pero de prueba, ¿eh?
¿Qué quiere decir a prueba? No encontrará a nadie mejor que yo.
So guys, you are looking at a legend. This is Curro Franco. She was an Austrian puppeteer, ventriloquist, dancer and marionette artist who moved and settled to Spain in 1942. To describe her as a legend is an understatement. She became one of the most iconic figures in Spanish TV for her work with hand puppets and string marionettes. She started off in 1959 doing this stuff and appeared in children's programming for over 20 years. She is fantastic.
Este programa?
Claro que sí.
¿Y cómo lo harás?
Con presencia, conciencia, paciencia, solvencia, prudencia e inteligencia.
Bueno, ¿y cómo se llamará este programa?
Naturalmente, Cita con Marilyn.
Cita con Marilyn. Ah, eso me gusta.
During her time, she created and voiced hundreds of puppets and marionettes. The way she moves this puppet is fantastic. Look at this bro's dance moves.
Canto a mi amor, canto porque el cuerpo me lo pide, porque nadie me lo impide, canto porque quiero yo, quiero cantar para una flor.
Honestly, this is just joyful, isn't it? Curro Franco was an absolute legend, and I'm so pleased to be able to show you some of her stuff. Everybody in Spain remembers her. And of course, it wouldn't be the 60s without a creepy-ass clown.
More.
¿Qué niño?
¡Gemelos!
No, Marilyn. Bien, ya está bien, despídete.
Adiós, amiguitos. Adiós.
Thanks, Curro, we love you. Okay, let's take a look at another hugely popular kids' TV show. This is Los Chiripiti Flauticos. Try saying that after a vodka. This was a super popular kids' TV program that aired from the late 1960s all the way through to the 1970s. The show featured a mix of live-action sketches, songs and adventures. It broadcast in the afternoon, and it's fair to say it captivated young audiences across Spain.
Tilim, 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 tolom, 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 he llegado también yo. Soy tu amigo poquito que viaja en un bolsillo y desde pequeñito me...
The show had a series of recurring characters who all became hugely popular across Spain. And the highlight for many were these comedy sketches.
Oye, Juanito, ¿qué está ocurrido?
Dígame, venga usted para aquí.
¿Está ahí el canario?
Sí, el canario está por allí, pero es que no llego
¿Dónde?
por allí, por allí.
Por allí.
Ahora, aquí está.
Juanito, aquí abajo.
So while direct propaganda that featured Franco himself was uncommon in kids' shows, the broader framework of strict censorship ensured that the content reinforced conservative social norms and never questioned the established order. By the late 1960s, where these clips are from, there was a noticeable shift towards more entertaining, imaginative and commercially appealing programming. The early days of kids' TV that was just about moral values was gradually transformed into this. Catchy songs, whimsical characters, playful adventures, and light-hearted escapism, rather than the social and moral lessons previously seen. But now, lads, it's time to move to the 1970s. And it's time to say adios to Franco.
Españoles. Franco ha muerto. El hombre de excepción que ante Dios y ante la historia asumió la inmensa
Franco died on the 20th of November 1975, and at around 10 a.m. the Spanish Prime Minister Carlos Navarro appeared on TV to announce his death. Visibly emotional and with a trembling voice, he began his speech with those now iconic words you've just heard. Spaniards, Franco has died. He then read what was presented as Franco's political testament, urging Spaniards to extend the same affection and support to the now future king.
En estos momentos, mi voz llegará a vuestros hogares entrecortada y confundida por el murmullo de vuestros sollozos y de vuestras plegarias. Es natural. Es el llanto de España que siente como nunca la angustia infinita de su orfandad. Es la hora del dolor y de la tristeza.
I honestly cannot believe the theatrics of this. I don't think I've ever seen a death announcement quite so dramatic apart from in North Korea.
Que Franco, el que durante tantos años fue nuestro caudillo, sirvió.
I also love that before Franco died, he wrote a long statement to be delivered to the people. Even from the grave, he wasn't going quietly.
Españoles, al llegar para mí la hora de rendir la vida ante el Altísimo y comparecer ante su inapelable juicio.
Now, while there's no doubt that for staunch Franco supporters, particularly older generations and conservative Catholics, there was genuine grief and mourning following his passing. But for many others, probably the majority, there was relief and joy. The news of Franco's death brought hope for change. Accounts from the time describe private celebrations in homes, clandestine gatherings with champagne toasts, and political prisoners shouting in euphoria. But overall, the immediate public mood was one of cautious restraint and about uncertainty for the future, rather than widespread open rejoicing or mass weeping. Basically, streets were quiet. There was little overt demonstration either way. Nobody quite knew how they could react and what was going to come next.
Y abrazaros a todos para gritar juntos por última vez en los umbrales de mi muerte: ¡Arriba España! ¡Viva España!
Someone give this man an Oscar. What a performance. This has to be probably the most iconic clip ever in Spanish TV history. Immediately after Franco's death, TV was replaced with religious programming and his funeral was broadcast live across Spain. Franco's designated successor was King Carlos. Far from preserving the authoritarian structures as Franco had intended, Carlos demonstrated a genuine commitment to democracy. He appointed a reformist prime minister, and they engineered the law for political reform that dismantled Franco's institutions from within, legalized political parties and trade unions, and paved the way for Spain's first free elections in June 1977. Franco must have been spinning in his grave. His designated successor, who was supposed to carry on with Franco's authoritarian rule, in 2 years, introduced democracy to the country. It's quite an incredible story. After decades and decades of authoritarian rule, the transition to democracy was not violent. There was no revolution, not a single gun was fired. Instead, King Carlos just gradually introduced democracy to the country. After Franco's death, TV programming shifted towards greater openness. News broadcasts began covering opposition voices, debates and political reforms. Entertainment diversified with more international influences, including US imports and cultural shows that subtly encouraged modernization. Censorship was gradually dismantled, international imports were allowed, we switched to colour TV, and in the 1980s private channels were introduced. So let's take a final look at some 80s and 90s programming in Spain. And thank God we're in colour now, because look at this. I am so excited to show you this one, because this is Historias para No Dormir, translated as Tales to Keep You Awake. It's a pioneering horror anthology TV series. Each episode is a mini horror film and featured prominent Spanish actors of the time. Now, I am a massive horror fan, and this is the first time ever in this series that we've ever had a horror TV show, so gracias Spain. In fact, this was one of the first horror TV shows broadcast in Europe and was a massive hit across Spain. Mostly because it was innovative and original. Quite simply, nobody had seen this kind of thing on TV before. This episode is called Freddy, and it's from 1982. It tells the story of a struggling, low-rent variety theatre company touring small towns, where, mysteriously, members of the group start dying in sinister ways. Now, spoiler alert, but you probably already guessed this, it turns out that this dummy called Freddy is actually coming to life and killing people, of course. Each episode is so well done, it's brilliantly directed and the music is fantastic. Have a look at this scene. I love it so much. So the episode concludes by shockingly revealing to the Spanish audience that in fact the murderer is the dummy. Don't have nightmares, kids.
¿Quién ha podido hacerlo?
So good. This is one of my favourite shows I've seen so far doing this series. Another massively popular Spanish show that flourished after Franco had gone was this one. This is Curro Jiménez, and it's basically about a bandit who robs the rich to help the poor, and fights against oppressors, corrupt authorities, and the French. Yes, this is the Spanish Robin Hood. That seemed a little unfair, didn't it? Now, this show was massively popular because it was basically like a Spanish Western on TV. There was loads of action, lots of horse fighting, and it was just basically great fun. Kids around Spain would run around pretending to be him. This is a really well-made, high-budget show, and I understand that reruns are actually still very popular in Spain today. By a long way, the biggest and most popular quiz show in Spain was this one. This is Un, Dos, Tres, Responda, translated as 1, 2, 3, Answer. It's the most iconic and longest running quiz show in Spain, having been on air for over 3 decades. So, in the show, contestants must answer general knowledge questions in each round to then progress into the final segment of the show, where the couple choose from a lineup of visible prizes hidden behind doors or boxes. You have to guess or identify them correctly to win the chosen prize. I have no idea why all the women are dressed as secretaries from a porn film, but there we go.
Hola, Mayra. A propósito, Patricia, ¿cuántas semanas llevan ya con nosotros nuestro candidato?
As well as general knowledge rounds, there would also be bizarre physical rounds like this one. So I was ready to make a comment about how easily people were pleased in the 80s, but you know what? This is actually great fun. So go on, go Spain. So, after all of the mayhem and chaos where I had absolutely no idea what was going on, this is the winning couple and it's time to see what they've won, and they reveal their prize by smashing a mirror.
Así, dale el martillo en la mano. Irene, retírate, que no quiero que te hieran. Y ahora fuertemente.
Con la fuerza que
y
tengo.
Esto es
la
lo que...
fuerza.
¿Eh?
Que digo que con la fuerza que tengo.
Eso, con la que
¿tú crees que la
tengas.
romperé?
Y vamos a ver qué es lo que han perdido. Este coche que es igual.
Yes, they've won a car. Now, I can easily see why this quiz show was one of the most popular in Spain for so many years. It's so much fun, it's completely chaotic, they would also have comedy sketches and singers on it, and it's just basically great fun.
Muy buenas noches a todos y muy felices para... Atención. Isaac Fernández Gil a jugar.
And finally, you will almost certainly recognise this show. This is El Precio Justo, translated as The Price is Right. Based on the popular US format, contestants play various games to guess the price of everyday consumer objects.
Y un amplio bolso de viaje, realizados en pana y diseñados por los creadores de una de las principales firmas del sector. Un equipaje ideal para estrenarlo precisamente en estas mini vacaciones de Semana Santa.
I love that there was a time in history when we used to applaud luggage. So, El Precio Justo was a massive hit in Spain. It aired from 1988 all the way to 2002. It achieved huge audiences, often exceeding over 17 million viewers. The show was a real phenomenon and was symbolic of Spain's post-Franco democratic boom and the expansion of television consumption across the country.
Aquí tienen un coche de película. Un espectacular deportivo inglés de 2 puertas con el que podrá sentirse como una auténtica estrella.
Oh, that is such a cool car. I know car enthusiasts will be able to tell me the model in the comments because I kind of want one.
10.200.000.
So he's the winner and he takes all the prizes. So El Precio Justo is probably the most fitting way to end this video, because this show perfectly represents the complete erasure of Franco Spain. It reflects the normalisation of leisure, of consumerism, and of TV as everyday entertainment in this now new democratic society, with growing economic prosperity and private consumption. Gone is the propaganda. Gone is the limited programming. Gone is the ideological TV of the Franco years. And, for better or worse, depending on your view, this was the future of TV in Spain.
Superior a las 300.000. ¿Qué eliges del coche, claro? Pues disfrútalo, Ramón, enhorabuena. A ver ese coche.
One of the things I love most about making this series is seeing how closely TV mirrors a country's cultural, political and historical transformations. By watching TV shows from Spain's past, we gain a unique window into its history and how it arrived at its present day. Spain is sometimes described as Europe's forgotten dictatorship. I guess partly because Franco's fascist rule did not end through violent revolution, popular uprising, war, economic collapse or foreign intervention. Instead, the country simply waited for him to die. And from there, under the leadership of King Juan Carlos, Spain carried out a remarkable, peaceful and gradual transition to a constitutional monarchy and then multi-party democracy. This gradualism is visible in its TV as well. There was no dramatic tearing down of equipment, no storming of TV studios, and no wholesale banning or purging of programs or personnel. TVE, the state broadcaster, evolved slowly and continuously, retaining much of its infrastructure and many of its staff. In today's Spain, Franco is rarely mentioned. He remains a largely forgotten figure for many, especially younger generations. When the Prime Minister appeared on TV in 1975 to announce the dictator's death with the now iconic words, Spaniards, Franco e morto, followed by a reading of Franco's political testament, the public response was one of wary reserve rather than mass celebration or mass grief. Many Spaniards simply shrugged or reacted with quiet grief or simple acceptance, and life moved forward without major upheaval. The same measured, pragmatic spirit characterised the broader transition on Spain's TV screens. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe and share it with your friends. You can also become a channel member to help support the channel. We'll see you next time.